What was your 15 minutes of fame? My neighbor stabbed his mom to death and they interviewed me about it. I had recently moved from the country to the city and I looked and sounded like a total hick. Did you mention how quiet he always was while scratching your backside? Nah man. On TV it's scratching you belly with the hand up under the shirt so the belly button is exposed. Scratching the backside is just for around friends and family. / I'm also from out in the country. Does infamy count? I was on the news when I fell down a ravine and had to be rescued. News stations, helicopters, the whole shebang. Are you baby Jessica? Damn, that was a long time ago. Young Lynn here. Who was baby Jessica? She was this toddler that fell down a pipe years back and it was hell getting her out of there as she was in an awkward position. Took a long time and multiple emergency crews. Bunch of news crews showed up too and it just turned into a big deal. Which it was. I was only a little baby. My parents were on holiday to SeaWorld and they sat me on a chair eating a banana. Apparently the big screen kept cutting to me and the audience going all dolphins. Damn this human baby. We do all the cool ass stunts and no attention given. But one human child eats a fucking fruit and everyone loses their minds. I was also wearing a hat. So I had that going for me. Dolphins can't wear hats. You win. Entire neighborhood came to the house to see why an ambulance arrived. It was just me stuck in the washing machine during a competitive game of hide and seek. What are you doing, step bro? Get the fuck out of the washing machine, you're gonna knock it off the motor. His mom. Probably. I did a webcomic that had a good run for a while. One time I saw my comic brought up in a thread about people's favorites. That was enough for me. What's your comic? Close bracket. Well, it was called Edmund Finner's Quest to find the meaning of life at http://comics.com. But it's been on indefinite hiatus for some years while I had to focus on other things. I still hope to get back to it someday. It leaves the reader on a cliffhanger I never meant to leave it on. Dude, I loved that comic. Thank you for all your work on it. Thanks. I've thought about putting everything else aside and getting back into it, but it hasn't happened yet. I really don't intend for it to be abandoned at that point and never return to it. I know it's been a while. Was once number 1 in the world on an app called Quiz Up in the Simpsons category. That app is awesome. I got to number 1 in Marvel movies, if I'm remembering correctly, but that was way after the app was popular. A year or so ago, actress Kristen Bell was doing a campaign on Instagram called 10 Featured Teachers. She picked from a list of teachers that were submitted and sent out their classroom Amazon wishlist to her followers. The idea was to help teachers supply their classrooms, since they usually have to do it out of their own pockets. Well, my wife is an English teacher and threw her name in the hat, and she got picked. The response was amazing. She had books on her wish list, since she teaches English, and we got hundreds in a few days. Really restored my faith in humanity for a bit. I of course shared it on my Instagram as well. So I briefly became the husband whose wife got picked by Kristen Bell. That's really cool that there's a program like that. Can confirm. My fiancée is a teacher and she gives up so much for her students, it's crazy. She doesn't get the recognition she deserves for everything she does for her students. A couple years ago I was at a very crowded amusement park with my GF and a couple of friends, and we found a crying kid who had lost his parents. So I lifted him on my shoulders and started shouting, "Lost child. Who has lost a child?" And the panicked mom was found in less than 15 seconds. Hundreds of people started clapping and cheering, and a stranger offered me a drink. Lol. Was fun. When you lifted the kid up, I just pictured that scene from The Lion King when Rafiki lifts baby Simba up. Naasi wenaya. Bipata pibata. Sithi gona yanya. I wrote 3 decently popular young adult novels while in college. Then decided I should try my hand at more serious writing, and haven't been able to replicate it since. Then shit got weird for me, and I can barely write at all. Edit. No, I'm not gonna give you the titles. Lol. They were published between 2000 and 2004. And like I said, they were only decently popular. Nothing special and probably nothing you've read. Which novel did you write? The book titles are 50 Shades of He and Don't Blow Me if you don't know me. Ah yes. From the Cattle Drive trilogy. My picture was in Playboy. My mom bought 5 copies. Kim K. Is that you? You're doing amazing. Sweetie. I'm the Asian waitress walking between tables when Martin Freeman is doing karaoke in Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. My parents were pretty hype when I was born. Mine weren't. Was adopted. But right when I was born my adopted parents also got pregnant. And my brothers outshone me my whole life. Sweet. In my final year of high school, 2009, I won a competition for MySpace to crash my formal. I was shy and didn't want to tell the whole year at parade, so I got a friend to do it. But everyone knew it was me. MySpace had 15 minutes of fame. 2. It's still up and running. True. But it's not famous anymore. My kids have never heard of it. My face is on a billboard for motorcycle safety where I live. Was supposed to be for 1 year. They've been up for 8 or 9 years, so I guess it's more than 15 minutes. But I'm wearing a helmet and only my eyes are showing. So tough to recognize. I thought that was you. I was on Disney Channel like 5 years ago if that counts. Yo, that's so cool, I've always wanted to do that. I was a background performer for the regional premiere of American Idiot, the musical. That feels like about 15 minutes lol. I cannot express how jealous I am. Then it may help you to know that I felt that way once, and that is what drove me to go and get it. I called into the radio once, and they played it on air. I talked to Michelangelo, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, on the radio when I was 3 and asked adorable questions like what's your favorite pizza, and they replayed the clip for weeks. My dad has a recording of it. This is a small one, but a few years back my friend and I made 52 episodes of a YouTube series just for shits and giggles. It was funny to // and we thought maybe some others would think it was okay. But it didn't take off. I think even now the highest viewed video has maybe 3k views. We had a blast making it though. About 40 eps in, we get contacted by a tiny video game podcast. They apparently // loved / the show and wanted to interview us on their podcast, even though our show had nothing to do with video games. I went and listened to some of their past shows and sure enough, they brought our show up with reverence and laughter. We had genuine fans. It was so strange. We went on the show and they asked us lots of questions and geeked out a little over it. It was very flattering and encouraging. Edit. My friend reminded me of this. One season of our series was loosely based on David Alan Grier. Well, the dag himself retweeted an episode and said we were doing God's work. So, a dag retweet. Not bad. One does not simply mention their own YouTube channel without providing a link. I was on Double Dare. How did you perform? Answer me this question without looking it up. How many teeth does a cat have? IDK like 32. Around 30 was the answer. I'm haunted that a trivia question was allowed that didn't have a definitive answer. If we said 29 would we have gotten it right? What about 31? Not me but my youngest brother. He was born on the day the 6th or 7th billionth person was born in the world, so he and my mom were in the news as the 6th 7th billionth baby. Whichever one happened in 1999 I can't remember. Must have been 6 billion. 7 billion was around 2011/2012. During middle school, there was this big assembly where they had like this weird science show, and one of the presenters asked how something was powered/worked. I don't remember, it was like a decade ago. In response to this, I shouted witchcraft and most of the other students started laughing. People would greet me in the hallway with witchcraft for a couple weeks after this. I respect and applaud timely heckling like that. Bravo. I got more than 10 likes on Twitter once, which is not a lot. But damn, that made me happy. Would make me happy too. I was a child model who appeared on a number of Megabyte Toys game boxes. I also did many TV adverts for McDonald's, Marks and Spencer's etc. Did an advert with Linda Lusardi. Then we moved up north, changed agencies, and I didn't get any work. but it was very cool going into Toys R Us and seeing your face all over the latest games and showing off to your mates. And of course when it was bring a toy in from home day for school, I brought in my own games. Just like a show off little turd. What was that like? To show your friends, I mean. I felt a bit like a celebrity and made me feel more important than I actually was. I was never an ass and was still pretty down to earth, but I did think I was rather cool. I would have too, but I probably would have been an ass about if I was working behind the customer service counter of Target on the day after Christmas. I didn't even know ahead of time, but a local news crew showed up at the store to film a story about how busy it was. I was so caught up in my work I didn't even really have time to pay attention to whatever they were doing. Apparently that story was bigger than I thought, because at least once a month for the next 14 months or so random people would see me and go, "Hey Target dude." And I'd be like, "Huh? Hey yeah man, I saw you on that news story a while back." My book, For 1 Hour, was number 6 on the Amazon bestseller list for the entire romance genre. It's the best I've ever got. Which book? I need a new romance authors as I've already exhausted a few during quarantine. My now ex-husband and I were on the front cover of a few tabloid magazines and interviewed on several radio stations across the US for an ad I placed to rehome our cat. That our son developed allergies to. It was something like, "Free to a good home. Female cat or husband." Husband says either the cat goes or he goes. Cat fixed. Husband isn't. After reading the ad, it sounds like you kept the cat. I really hope that the family who adopted the husband has been treating him well. Wrote a really bad fanfic for a game and somehow it got mildly popular. Enough to have a good chunk of dedicated readers, and the others were people stopping by to question my life decisions probably. Anyways, I killed off one of the characters I made for this story without realizing that he was apparently the fan favorite. I got a lot of angry messages and someone even threatened suicide if I didn't fix this. I think I wrote that high for at least a year before I started to question whether or not I really wanted to let that trash be my legacy. A few updates later, I purged that entire account and wiped any trace of that fanfic from existence. The guy who threatened to off himself managed to track me down 2 years later. So that was delightful. And I do mean that very sarcastically. I'm still going to hang myself if you don't revive the character. Don't worry, man. He'll totally respawn in the next chapter. Epic gamer jokes and all that. I barely restrained myself from swearing on Channel 4 News, UK, when debating Prime Minister David Cameron on the subject of grammar schools aged 14. I feel it's almost necessary for the British to throw in a few bloody hells in a conversation. I laughed so hard because it's fully true. When I was 18, I got asked by a local business to don a gladiator-style costume and be pulled on a chariot in our city's 4th of July parade. Saw tons of people who knew me. Did you wave at your loyal servants? Oh yeah. I was making all sorts of puns with the company's products and popular ancient history. Some dude got up out of his chair and yells, "Hey look, it's Gluteus Maximus." And that was my first experience getting catcalled while wearing a skirt out on the street. When I got a 100/100ths in some subject in 7th grade, it was 6 marks higher than the class topper, and the answer that made me achieve it was something none could answer. The topper dude snatched the paper from me and many gathered around him looking at the answer. So yeah gentlemen, I did enjoy that short lasting fame. Yeah, I had a 94 on a chemistry test once. The next highest score was a 54. It helped to have parents with biochemistry degrees. Do you think the test material was learnable through the teacher's notes and textbook, or it was exclusively your parents that helped you achieve that mark? Either way, that is a remarkable lead against second place. If you are new to Tattletale TV, please subscribe. I have new videos every day. Stay tuned right now for another